Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Chancer and what seems like a never ending international break. We are back and we are going to go through fantasy football for this week. It's great to have the league back. Now, before we kick into this week's, we got to look at last week's. Now, last week's was pretty miserable on my part and a lot of people's part because of the FA Cup fixtures and the way it works. So I had Bernd Leno in goals, got 7 points in Fulham's demolition of Spurs. Udogie, only 1 point out of that. Everything else is blank there up until Douglas Luiz with 1 and Ollie Watkins for 4 for my captain. So that's a pretty week. But those teams are going to get double rounds in the coming weeks, and we'll see. And we can probably even out and kind of make up for such a poor showing there. But anyway, in goals, Leno, Sheffield United away. Sheffield United don't score a lot of goals. We can say they're relegated. Fulham have stepped up this season in terms of a lot of games, like especially if you look at the result against Spurs last week. In the defence, then I went for Dan Burn, West Ham at home. Nice game for Newcastle to come back into the window for, as Darren said earlier on Thursday Tier Talk. I know you'll probably be looking at this on Friday, so it was last night, but Darren was saying that it's a good game for Newcastle. I agree with him there. However, West Ham have been inconsistent, but they've showed up with some big performances this year. So I think this is a more important game for Newcastle than it is West Ham, but I fancy Newcastle to get over the line. Udogie with Luton at home. Luton out of relegation zone now, but need to start putting points on the board if they want to stay up in this league. And that's a very tough test away to Spurs for them. Braithwaite, Bournemouth away. Bournemouth scoring a lot of goals. So defensively, Everton have been pretty good for a team down near the bottom, but they're going to be under pressure from the likes of Dominic Solanke this weekend. So going to be a tough test for Everton. Can they keep a clean sheet at Bournemouth? Absolutely. Will they? We'll have to wait and see. In the middle of the park, then, Bukayo Saka. He is an injury doubt. I don't really think he's an injury doubt. I fully expect him to play. And like if Arsenal score, it's normally through him. So confident with him in there. Phil Foden as well, been absolutely on fire this year. So Phil Foden goes in there, as does Douglas Luiz in a winnable, I will say, game for them at home to Wolves. And Mo Salah is actually going to be my captain this week, as opposed to Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland has been managed quite well by some games by Arsenal. So I'm going to switch my attention to Mo Salah, especially because Liverpool want to bounce back from that, what they will say is an embarrassing result last week, the way it went against Manchester United when they kind of sat back a little bit and then just got caught in the hop. So I think Liverpool will be really fired up for this one, and I'm going with Mo Salah as my captain. Up front then, Ollie Watkins, Wolves at home, as I say, Wolves not too bad at the back, not great going forward. So I think Watkins could be in for a goal or two in this one. Erling Haaland in the middle there. As I said, Arsenal have handled him well, but you always got to put him in there, especially if he's not your captain. You got to put him in anyway. So, like, can Erling Haaland score against Arsenal? Absolutely, he can score against anyone in the world. So Erling Haaland goes in there, as does Dom Solanke. So that will depend on Everton's defensive capabilities this weekend. Now, on the bench, I have actually played my bench boost this week. So Kelleher, potential clean sheet against Brighton. Cole Palmer, Burnley at home. That's a favourable game from Chelsea. Connor Bradley and William Saliba, that could go either way because Connor Bradley, if Liverpool do concede with him and Kelleher there, obviously it's minus the two of them. But if they manage to keep a clean sheet and they're both on my bench, then I will stand to do well out of this. And William Saliba, don't foresee Arsenal keeping a clean sheet at the Etihad, but can Saliba pop up from a corner or something? Absolutely he can. So that's what I'm going to go for this week, guys. And just like to thank everyone for tuning into the Upper Tier podcast on YouTube. Absolutely fantastic wrestling and football community, as well as many other things that the boys are building up here. So best of luck to everyone, and we will see where we are next week in the Fantasy Chancellor. Thanks, guys.